Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Brack, in Studio K. Damon, Dawg behind the mic. Got real tangible football to talk about in less than 2 weeks' time, but today heard from Nick Rallis, defensive coordinator for our Redbirds, Bo.
Yeah, year 2 under Nick Rallis. He's excited about a bunch of the new pieces coming on to this defense. One that at points, I think you could say kept the Cardinals in some games last season, but at the end of the year, when you look at the overall numbers, a group that certainly has a lot of room for improvement. And Rallis kind of talked about where he thinks that they could take a jump in year 2 under him. And some of those new pieces from Darius Robinson to a guy like BJ OJulari, Zayvon Collins, that they're hoping can make a leap production-wise under Gannon and Rallis.
Yeah, Cardinals are going to need some key internal pieces, Bo, to make a leap because they didn't do much in free agency. Outside of some savvy vets, some modest contracts, Cardinals opted not to spend a lot again this offseason. Jonah Williams being their biggest contract externally. And I think you and I are in a good place with that. A lot of Cardinal fans here in the chat are okay with that. Here's who's not okay with that. Our friends at Bleacher Report, their lead writer, or one of them, Brad Gagnon, put together a list today. Bo, you sent this to me. 5 big regrets NFL teams could have from the 2024 offseasons. Arizona Cardinals are included in this list, Bo, for, quote, not spending enough money in free agency.
Yeah, this is coming from an outsider's perspective, and a credit to Brad for trying to jump into the waters here with the people who cover the team on a daily basis. We know that the Arizona Cardinals want to primarily be a draft and develop team. And like they kicked around the idea of chasing after some big name free agents. But I think that they saw once the market started to materialize, and you and I early on, and you have this source that they wanted to spend on the interior of the defensive line. And they eventually did in a different way, in the way of Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, that, Matabuke might have been one of their guys, but never reached free agency. And then Christian Wilkins, who, gets this massive deal from Vegas that I don't think the Arizona Cardinals really want to have any part of down the line. I mean, sure, his cap hit's like $10 million this year, but after that, it's $30+ million each year. That's not what they want to spend on a guy that's going to be 30 by the time he's getting $30 million of cap charges on himself.
Yeah, you sent me this article, and I'm like, what's this slappy writing about? But here's what I'll say. 4 out of the 5 points, all that don't include the Cardinals, I actually agree with. I think that the article itself has some good stuff in it. Brad references Dallas not extending Dak, right? And the Vegas Raiders not doubling down on their quarterback position, and whatever the hell the Falcons are doing with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, and then the Aaron Rodgers saga in the Jets. It's strange that the Cardinals are included on this list because, again, we know what their plan is. But let's hear Brad out. These are his comments again. Lead reporter, NFL Bleacher Report, saying the rebuilding Cardinals entered the offseason with nearly $60 million in cap space and very few in-house veterans to take care of. You'd think if they were serious about maximizing their chances of excelling again in a critical season for quarterback Kyler Murray, they'd load up on talent both sides of the ball. And while they didn't completely sit on their hands, they clearly could have done a lot more. Anyone fired up about Jonah Williams and Evan Brown? Is Justin Jones a difference maker? What about Sean Murphy-Bunting? He continued, Dan, saying the Cards didn't hand out a single contract worth more than $32 million. It's almost like that was a strategy, Ossenfort, which is how you expect teams to act when they're saving up to pay their quarterback big bucks. But Arizona already has done that. And Murray's enormous cap hit is baked into this season as well as the next 4. I appreciate the Cardinals. They realize they aren't yet Super Bowl contenders and that the turnaround won't happen overnight, Bo, but they also owe it to Murray and themselves to load up on enough talent to pave the way for a clear indication of how close he and they are to competitiveness. I'm sure they have done that here. I'm not sure. Excuse me. They have done that here. Again, Bleacher Report.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with it. It's just like, you remember when you were a kid and you would go to the Toys R Us, RIP, whatever.
Of course.
And you didn't find something that you went to look for, and your parents were like, "Well, you're not just going to buy something to buy something." And I think that's the case with the Arizona Cardinals.
I hated it.
It was the worst. It was the worst.
So
It's like, I can find something I can make do with, that I can, pair with the rest of my Ninja Turtles. But like in this case, there were opportunities. I think there's some free agents that they pursued, but they're not going to get off of their plan, their game plan, as far as building this roster and going out and saying, hey, like, how come you weren't in there, the discussions for Robert Hunt and $100 million contract for an interior offensive lineman? Like, I can't sit there and criticize Monti Ossenfort. Now, I think, you'll probably expound on this point. Like, the one group that you and I keep falling back on, that this team didn't do enough with, investment this offseason, in whether it's the draft or whether it's free agency, is the pass rush. And it wasn't a lack of opportunity as far as the pass rush. Like, I can get behind saying, Christian Wilkins, you got priced out of that. I can see how that contract could potentially not age well. The Robert Hunt, the other, offensive lineman of the interior, and Jonah Williams. Like, I think you can make the case he's probably your best tackle option out there, because, Tyron Smith coming off so many injuries. So, like, the pass rush, there were opportunities, right? You had Danielle Hunter going from Minnesota. He signs a big lucrative deal with the Texans. I would have liked the Cardinals to make maybe a bigger effort to get somebody that has a resume of getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, we're gonna beat that dead horse until OJulari, as Zaven Collins steps up. And we were kind of talking about it off air. Like, with each passing day, it's like Darius Robinson's here to play interior defensive line. I don't think he's here to play pass rusher. I think that the aforementioned Collins and OJulari are going to fill that void. And I go to Spot Track a lot. They've got a lot of good insight on there. The Cardinals, much to this article's disagreement, they signed 3 top 32 free agents to contracts, big money contracts this offseason. So I mean, like, they were in on several guys: Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jonah Williams, Justin Jones, who collectively, those 3 contracts, Bo, are $80 million total. Now, that it just so happens, if they all come to fruition and they're here for the entirety of their deals, and we hope that they are, that means, a la James Conner, that they're working out. So it's not like the Cardinals sat on their hands, and this report suggests as much. But they were not in on some of the major players of free agency, some of the major elite players of free agency. But I say that kind of with a caveat, like, elite and free agency. I mean, ask Steve Keim how that went. Like, Keim, usually a major player on day 1, day 2, and day 3 of free agency, with notable names, shelving out big money deals, trading for Rodney Hudsons of the world. I mean, like, it did not age well. I mean, shit, man, we were talking about this the other day. Like, the Diop trade, outside of that first year, did not age well. So I go back and I look at, okay, let's look at some of the biggest value contracts in free agency. Should the Cardinals have played in this sandbox? I'm just going to go, Bo, through, let's just call it the top 10.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins, obviously not interested. You mentioned Christian Wilkins. He's getting $110 million. They're never going to do that. And I have full confidence that he's going to get the most with Stills and Powell and Jones and Darius. The defensive line group's infinitely better. D tackles. Robert Hunt got $100 million. No thanks. Calvin Ridley, barf, got $92 million. Then, as you mentioned, Jonathan Grenard, who is only 27, got $76 million.
I said Danielle Hunter, who they basically switched spots. Like, Grenard goes from Houston to Minnesota, and then Danielle Hunter goes from the Vikings to Houston.
I think what Grenard got was palatable, though, for the Cardinals. I think that that's the type of player. Another guy who was less was Andrew Van Ginkel for like $10 million a year for the Vikings. I think that there's some edge rushers definitely available that I thought that they definitely could have spent some money on. But
we were waiting
and you guys made that point.
We were waiting for it, Damon. Like, we were waiting for, like, where's that guy? And we were talking about it off air. Like, did they think at any point in time that a pass rusher was going to make themselves available in this draft? Well, like, really, outside of Dallas Turner and Chop Robinson and Latu, Like, were you ever going to get those guys at 27? No. And to come up and get them, it was going to be pricey. It was going to cost you your second. Would it cost you Max Melton? Would you have given up Darius Robinson and Max Melton to go up and get a proven pass rusher? Obviously, they said it's not worth it. And we saw on day 2 of the draft, and especially on day 3, like that edge rusher group just did not have depth in this draft. This draft had a lot of things going for it, tackles and receivers and quarterbacks and running backs. It was not a great edge rusher class. Now, next year's a different story. But I do think, like, I don't think they regret not spending more. But I wonder if we get into August and if the juice isn't there, it's just like, you know what? Danielle Hunter got $49 million to go play in Houston.
Yeah.
We have given him $55 million to come here for a couple of years to just help us get the young players over the hump. Because, I mean, we're going to hear from Nick Rallis in a little bit, and he's going to talk about OJulari, and I'm high on OJulari. I feel like we're at the point now, the expectations are not fair to OJulari. I almost feel that way because we're taking this team and we're talking about postseason expectations. The offense is loaded. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson on the back end, like everything's lining up, right? I like Jonah Williams. I like some of the key free agents they added in. But hey, second-year player who missed time last year, who is unproven, go be our number 1 pass rusher. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah, it might be asking. It might be too heavy of expectations to put on his shoulders. But look, he's a top 50 pick, and I think even if he doesn't tap into what they think his potential could truly fully be in year 2, but he starts to take steps forward and racks up a few sacks. But can he lead the charge? Can he be the premier pass rush artist for the Arizona Cardinals? I think that might be putting too much on there. But if he's game for it, good. But I'm looking at Danielle Hunter's contract. It's 2 years, $49 million with 3 void years on the back end. Like the Cardinals probably don't even have to deal with the void years based on what they have on the books in the next couple of years. And you're not locked in for a long time, and you can start to extend the players that you're drafting or that you want to keep in house, and where you're going to have to spend money to keep your players. It's not going to factor in. I think that's probably where you could have gotten out of your comfort zone and gotten to the negotiating table and maybe paid a little bit more money. Like it's just because now you're dealing with the fallout from that and putting all of what you want to do defensively and getting after the quarterback on OJulari, on Zaven Collins, on Dennis Gardeck. And I don't, as much as we like those players, that might be asking too much.
I mean, they signed 15 free agents, external and internal combination. They signed 15 free agents for over $100 million. It's just, again, not the players that respectfully external and national analysts say, yeah, I think the Cardinals should sign this player because I know this player and they should sign him.
It's all fool's gold. I mean, most of it's fool's gold, right? And you can find guys, what they did this offseason was raise the floor level as far as the talent goes for this roster. They didn't find guys that are going to be like true impact makers on a down-to-down basis. They got guys that are going to play a role, guys on the defensive line that are going to be able to play NFL level, caliber defensive line. And they're not going to have the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers impose their will on them like you saw 4 games last year.
I'm smitten over this defensive tackle group in large part because unlike last year's group, like this
Are you
group,
really?
I am.
You writing poems about
I'm smitten about him, bro. I'm
putting Johnny
chocolates and candy.
Times
JV and the DL and then
JV little, Heart DL
little arrow through it.
So the way, if you haven't been to State Farm Stadium, the way it's set up for training camp in Glendale is they have position work group and one of the closest to not only the media but the crowd on the home side is the defensive line group. So every year we're right there, Bo and I, Damon, Dawg, and we can see 2 groups: the running back and the defensive line group.
Hey.
The defensive line group was just not an NFL caliber group last year.
It was not. Huh?
And then you watch it and I'm like, man, we're in trouble. And then they were in trouble. And then the guys that they counted on went down. I look at this group now: Jones, Bilal Nichols, Darius Robinson, Dante Stills, all have a common denominator. They do not miss games. They have high floors. I trust Jonathan Gannon to get the most out of that group. I feel really good about that.
Mm-hmm.
And some guys like Jones, etc., have had success elsewhere. Feel good about that. Darius Robinson, first-round pick. Feel good about that. Dante Stills, a gem of a sixth-rounder. There's potential out the ass with that group. Pass rusher, I know what Dennis Gardeck is and what he isn't. Victor Dumakaji, no thank you. Jesse Luketa, pass. It is all standing on a converted inside linebacker who hit a wall last year and a kid out of Baton Rouge who came into camp out of shape because he was coming off major injury, that had a couple nice pressures, and that's it. So I will, to a lesser extent, agree with this article that if you could go back in time and just say, you know what, I'm going to open up the checkbook, I'm going to open up the wallet, let's make sure that we check a box at pass rusher. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that they're going to draft a pass rusher next year. I'm sure they're going to be in that market. Why? Because I don't think this group is good enough for, I hope I'm wrong, to get this team to where they want to be.
Yeah. No, and I'm with you there. I honestly, I'm concerned that you can't get all the way to the draft to fill that need. Like I think that there's a possibility, there's a scenario in a harsh reality where you're gonna have to maybe try to revamp that room on the fly. Like even if BJ OJulari pops, like can we truly realistically anticipate like both of Zaven Collins and BJ OJulari taking that necessary step?
I think
I hope so. I mean,
that's asking a lot. That's asking a hell of a lot.
And talking to Rallis today, and he's bullish on those guys. He likes both of those guys. Like Zaven Collins is beloved, and there's a lot of excitement around him and a lot of excitement around BJ OJulari. And, you know, you talk about the defensive line, like Nick Rallis is excited about getting LJ Collier, who, you know, unlike the rest of the group, he played one game, he was done. He's a former first rounder, but they certainly see something in Collier to where, you know, he was going to be a starter for them beyond just the season opener against Washington. He was their best defensive lineman through camp last year. And then they brought him back this past offseason to compete and be a part of that rotation. So, like, you know, the defensive line will get into it, you know, probably tomorrow or next week in our position previews, but it's a revamped room. And one of the guys that came back from last year was somebody that they felt like they were robbed of a chance of seeing play big and significant snaps for him in 2023.
Yeah. Let us know in the chat. Did the Cardinals fail to spend enough for you? I think, like, again, this article didn't specify where they wish they would have spent more. Like, you and I are on the same page. The chat, I feel like, is on the same page. Like, nobody wants to see them overspend offensively. Robert Hunt, Calvin Ridley. The cornerback group, Sean Murphy-Bunting's a nice free agent corner, and then they have two developmental guys they took on day 2 of the draft that they're high on. They did enough, in my opinion, at defensive tackle. It's really all about pass rusher. It should be the Cardinals did not spend enough at an edge rusher. That's what it should be. But they don't feel as confident as we do with the rest of this roster. Jared Reese, $5 super chat. Monty has already earned an extension. Leave out the names, and 5 picks in the top 2 rounds of his draft have been OT, edge, wide receiver, defensive tackle, cornerback, premium times 5. Well, it's on a good trajectory, Jared. Now those picks have to hit. I would say, like, we need at least 3 of those 5 to hit. Yeah. But I'm with you. Like, if Jonathan and Monti Ossenfort make the playoffs this year, like, I have no issue saying, yeah, let's add some years to the back end of their contract. But we got to see this.
He's a bad man. He's a bad
players
man.
come to fruition. Yeah, I know.
He tampered, so he's a bad man.
Morally,
forever stained.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I do want to talk about the Cardinals' back 7, specifically their safety group, where we feel like it ranks, and then maybe where ESPN thinks it ranks. But in the meantime, I'm going to task everybody right now, open up your smartphone, your mobile device. You want to win some money? We'll hook you up. How about some free monies, some free bonus bets with our friends at Bet365? Never coordinate over 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year. Plus, they offer payouts across the sports landscape, including NBA. You might be able to bet on Summer League. How about NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball in full effect? They have pioneered Bet365 live in-game betting, and they offer the widest range of games in and market and out of market for live in-game betting. And again, I mentioned we're going to hook you up. All you got to do, download the app today, deposit at least $10, use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. you're going to get a bet and get offer with a $5 bet or more and $150 in bonus bets. So that's it. You just got to place a bet for $5, $150 in bonus bets, or dabble with their first bet safety net by offering it and placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, if it hits, you win your money. If it doesn't, you get your bonus bets back up to $1,000. Again, bet 365. PHNX is the bonus code right now. Got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEPS. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. I will tell you right now, I'm taking the Cards money line preseason week 1 with my free bets at Bet365, Bo.
Gotta love it. Gotta love that spread. It continues to hold strong, hold steady. You know, you can make your way into the Cardinals preseason opener for as little as $3, $3. Friends over at Game Time right now, you can just go and lock in your tickets. You can wait. You could write it out. You could probably see if you can get a cheaper ticket to see the Arizona Cardinals, your first glimpse of them in 2024 beyond what you're going to see on social media from PHNX Cardinals. But you can get in for $3, State Farm Stadium. It's unreal. You can go to tonight's Diamondbacks game against the Braves for $13 at Chase Field. Game Time app. Right now, download the Game Time app and make a free account. Put in promo code PHNX, and you're going to get $20 towards your first purchase of tickets. That's right. You can get in. WNBA All-Star Game is just going to be down the street from this studio. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. It's all available on Game Time. Sign up for free. Use that promo code PHNX. Get $20 off your first order from Game Time. Take the guesswork out of getting tickets anywhere with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code PHNX, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem the code with PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Big shout out to my guy Ozzy on Twitter. Ozzy in the chat as well said he used the bonus code PHNX365, made himself some money with Bet365.
What was he wagering on?
A little Paul Skeens action.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Hit a plus 500 parlay, I believe.
Pirates Brew Crew.
Yeah.
About it. I love this question from George in the chat. Johnny, would you rather relive that Week 9 loss to the Browns last year or rewatch Episode 7 of The Acolyte? George, I would rather have that box score from the Cleveland game tattooed to my face before I rewatch Episode 7 of The Acolyte. Thank you for the question, though.
Oh man,
that's wild. Did that just answer the question of? Did that just answer the question of what Johnny cares most about in this world? Star Wars versus the Arizona Cardinals.
That's true.
No, I caught my son today watching Super Bowl 43 in the living room. It was being re-aired on NFL Network, and I said, "You turn that off in this house right now, young man. You turn that off."
Just have him turn it off after they take the lead.
He was like, "I don't think James Harrison got in," and I'm like, "Don't talk to me, son." When school's starting, get your butt back.
He's just trying to be a good kid.
He is.
You know, he connect with his father, and you're just letting all this.
He's watching the tape.
He is. He's grinding the tape. That's what he's doing, and I love it.
He can't wait.
You're muttering about Antrell Roll on the sideline. Did he interfere with Fitz, who could have taken him down?
I'm like, Hudson, you don't know how bad of a safety Aaron Francisco was. He was so bad. Number 47. Get him off the team. Sorry, we're not going to go down that dark hole today. We have much better.
Yeah, just get your hands on San Antonio Holmes. Push him.
We have much better safety play now than Aaron Francisco. And their names are Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. Bo, as we continue our offseason preview here, position groups, safety group, unequivocally, probably the deepest position group on the team, or certainly the most top heavy. And then you add a certain 4th round pick that the Cardinals selected this year, atop the 4th round. The Cardinals feel good about their safety group, Bo. How do you feel about this trio entering 2024?
I think it's the most set it and forget it group on the roster. And that's where it was last year. I know you had to deal with a couple injuries here and there, but as far as consistent play, nonstop motor, talking to Rallis today, and I said, what's the identity of your defense, motor and violence? That describes both Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. And, as they did their ESPN rankings of different positions, they rolled out safety today. So NFL execs, coaches, and players, scouts, they had still a ton of respect on Budda Baker's name, despite not having any pass deflections or any turnovers that he caused last year. Just all tackling fuel player. He's still ranked 6th on their list. He's a top 10 safety according to a collection of league exec, scouts, and coaches. So ton of respect on his name. Kind of disappointed to not see our guy JT at least get an honorable mention in that situation. But I like the two guys, the two vets. Sashri, we'll see if he continues to be around with this team. And then the addition, as you mentioned, with Robert Taylor Demerson out of Texas Tech, who, our guy Baldy was really high on Taylor Demerson coming out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's a group that has a lot of potential, but also 2 proven commodities. And you mentioned ESPN ranking Budda Baker 6th overall. This is what they had to say. He hasn't dropped off at all as far as his ability to close on the football, be disruptive, play with physicality, leadership, football smarts, etc. An NFL coordinator said the Cardinals defense really missed him early in the year. We missed a few games, certainly no more than the Washington collapse, or the Giants collapse, I should say, when he did not play that game. As you mentioned, Jalen Thompson, I think inexplicably left off this list. The safety position to me is probably one of the biggest in terms of like love fests in the NFL. We're just, hey, let's just go with guys we know. Jalen Thompson played like a top 10 safety last year. Jalen Thompson is an ascending player, and not that Budda Baker is descending, but a lot of the guys on this list are, and I put it out there, like I stand by it. My bold prediction this year is that Jalen Thompson's going to lead the NFL in interceptions under Jonathan Gannon. Like, I think he's going to double down on what he did last year and put themselves in a position to have a Pro Bowl caliber season. And I like the players on this list, but like Derwin James has not played a full season, like in a long time. He hasn't been an overly productive player. He had 1 interception last year. I mean, like, I would take, at this point, Jalen Thompson over him. I would take him over Ufunga, who got hurt last year. Justin Simmons is a free agent, unsigned, yet he's on this list. Like, Jalen Thompson, well paid, well compensated because he's earned it. He deserves it. He picked off CJ Stroud in the end zone last year. He put a hit on CJ Stroud last year that knocked the wind out of him, almost broke his ribs. But again, like Cardinals, a lot of their personnel is foreign to the NFL landscape. I think this is the coming out party officially this year for Jalen Thompson.
I mean, what does he have to do at this point? You look at him over since 2021 in the top 5 as far as total tackles, and then he's gotten his hands on the football in a top 10 capacity for safeties. So, I mean, not even an honorable mention. Like, he's got to beat it over their head. Our guy Joel saying, if JT played for the Niners, he'd be regarded as one of the best safeties in the league. And I completely agree with that sentiment. And it's pretty ridiculous that at this point, now that he's played so many years in this league, he's even received a pretty lucrative extension for his position at the time of signing, that he still doesn't, even from like exec scouts and coaches, that they're not paying attention. Like, I expected from fans out there, maybe not to know one of the safeties on a team that's won 4 games in back-to-back seasons, but Jalen Thompson continually flies on the radar, and I think it plays to an advantage to the Arizona Cardinals, certainly. But you wish that the guy would get his flowers. He's going to be 26 this year. Like, I feel like he should be approaching 30, but he's just gotten. It was his year 25 last year, and he was playing maybe at the highest level we've seen him play. Even though like you didn't see him hit 100 tackles on the season, but he had close to 80, and he got his hands on a bunch of footballs last season.
Yeah, I mean, 4 interceptions. He's got 9 in his career, but I think the statistics that stand out to me is just across the board. He sacks the quarterback. He has a forced fumble. He's got almost 80 total tackles last year. You mentioned the 4 picks, right? He's got 9 passes defense. He's a field general. And like they mentioned, ESPN did Budda Baker like his closing speed, and that's what he's known for. He's this one of the most sound tacklers in the NFL, and he's known to intercept a football once in a while. I do think at this point, though, like Jalen Thompson, to me, is the more well-rounded player. I think Jalen Thompson has better ball skills at this stage, and he's just younger. He's younger and more athletic at this point. I think Budda means more to the Cardinals from a heart standpoint, leadership standpoint, And good hell, you want both on your team if you can get it. But again, the upside this year is with JT because I believe he's got a head coach, played the position, that is a kingmaker for defensive backs. And speaking of defensive backs, Bo, we heard from Nick Rallis, you did earlier today, as it relates to Garrett Williams coming out of Syracuse, his second year in the NFL. I mean, you couple Budda and JT and Rabbit out of the 4th round this year with some of these budding young players at cornerback, suddenly you're cooking with gas in this secondary.
Yeah, and we primarily saw Garrett Williams play with the two safeties, right? He was kind of that big nickel position and playing the slot, but we knew that he could be more than that. So I just asked Rallis today, like, does he envision, a path for Garrett Williams to stay on the field all 3 downs? And he said, absolutely. I mean, Garrett Williams is a guy that can play all the positions in the defensive secondary, and that he absolutely can earn a role being potentially playing outside corner or maybe down the road late in the season and somebody gets injured and they need somebody to jump in, play outside corner, that Garrett Williams has that skill set in order to do so. But I still think they like him, when they're not in their base and they're in their nickel defense, Garrett to play that spot and be there kind of with Budda and JT. And I love that trio there. And if he does have to get pushed to outside at any point, you drafted the guy in Rabbit that I think they like as well, just probably not as big as a guy like Garrett Williams. I think he brings a lot to the table with size and physicality and athleticism.
Yeah, I think we have that bite, don't we, Damon? This is Rallis on the second-year corner out of Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett has the ability to play honestly every position in the secondary. So he 100% has the ability to go out there and earn a role to play every down.
So not much to it. I mean, he did elaborate a little bit later in the press conference on why he felt that way. And it was just kind of echoed what I broken down there. So, Garrett Williams, I think, is somebody that they're always going to be high on. And he easily acclimated and endeared himself to that room right out of the gate. As soon as he was healthy enough, coming off his ACL tear from his collegiate time.
Garrett Williams, Jalen Thompson got a couple things in common. Their style of play, the way they take the football away. They're also under contract with Arizona post this year. Budda Baker is not. So I want to round out our discussion with the safety group with this, Bo. They drafted Rabbit in the 4th round. Budda Baker is quickly approaching 30 years old. He got a pay raise last year, but this is, in fact, his last year under contract with Ossenfort and the Cardinals. I'll put your feet under the fire. Is this setting up to be Budda Baker's last year as an Arizona Cardinal?
It's all going to be dictated by, I think, his play. Like if he comes out and continues, if he can get his hands on the football, something that he hasn't really truly done consistently in his career, but if he can change that and he just turns heads as far as, maybe his play matching what he already does as far as his preparation, his process, and how he leads, his teammates. I think that the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, he makes himself a bit undeniable, but if he, if it's the status quo, if it's something similar to last year, and in this article, pointing out like him getting to the ball carrier, that's great. But what they want to do as a defense is force turnovers. And I think that there might be a bit of a disconnect between where, I think Budda and his representatives want to be and what they think he can continue to earn or what he should earn, and what, the Cardinals want to pay for what production or lack thereof that they get from that position.
You just feel like when Justin Simmons is sitting out there as a street free agent in July, and I mean, we've always compared those two players. I think Simmons might even be younger than Budda Baker. I mean, he's an all-time great Denver Bronco. He doesn't have a team right now. And I would venture to say, like, the safeties on the Broncos are probably cheaper, but they're not as good as Justin Simmons. It's a tough position. It's a tough business right now. I want to hear more from Nick Rallis, Bo, and your time with the Cardinals defensive coordinator here in a second. But first, it's a tough decision not to go with Desert Financial Credit Union because their financial acumen is so elite. Don't take my word for it. It's the official credit union, not only of the Venerable household, but PHNX Sports and the Arizona Cardinals. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, and they have created exceptional experiences for anybody and everybody by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And they deal with real people like you and I, achieving our financial goals and dreams outside of just your average ATM visit, right? They've got checking accounts, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. You need revamp your credit. You need a mortgage, personal loan. They got you covered tenfold. They have people standing by to help educate you, right? It's not a transaction. It's an education on your financial acumen. Right now, represent the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Show your team spirit. Open up a free checking account online. Get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Check them out. desertfinancial.com/Cardinals, Bo, to get started.
It's money in the bank, and it's more money to spend on maybe some of the highest rated shades on the internet. How about Shady Rays? You get free shipping on orders over $60. You get free returns and exchanges right now. ShadyRays.com. Men, women, kids, snow goggles, prescriptions, golf. You got so much you can find from Shady Rays right now, and 300,000 people have spoken and have rated them 5 stars online already. In a community of over 2 million people are bought in on these premium polarized sunglasses. Check them out for yourself. You got most of their sunglasses available in Color Rush. You've got Black Timber. These are some just classically cool shades. You got the Deep Timber, the Blackouts, or you want to maybe go to some wraparound style, whatever it may be. You have a sunglasses style that's going to fit your face and look great. You're not going to break the bank doing it. Go to ShadyRays.com and cash in on the deal of the season. 35% off polarized sunglasses using the promo code PHNX. Check out for yourself. Shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people online. Shady Rays, ShadyRays.com.
Love my Shady Rays. Had a monster deal just a couple days ago. 50% off. Currently 35% off with the bonus code PHNX. But just keep it tapped in their site. Always running flash deals. The best sunglasses, the best prices, guaranteed. We mentioned it earlier in the show, Bo, our hesitation with this pass rush group. We may have that currently up front. The Cardinals, they're putting up a front of we're sticking by the guys we have.
Yeah. Talking to Rallis, and, you're getting thoughts as far as, Zaven Collins, and he's seen Zaven take a step in practice and in the spring and doing some things that he's been asked to do, basically everything. I mean, he's beloved by those guys. And, Rallis mentioned that he and Coach Rodriguez, their pass rush coach, have a plan in place for him to be successful, what they think he's going to be successful. And then, Nick Rallis talking a lot like Dennis Gardeck was earlier this week, and how he's pumped to see BJ OJulari in his second season. Here's what Rallis had to say about BJ.
Yeah, I thought BJ last year just was continuing to progress and get better throughout the year, which is what you want everyone to do. I saw some things that I thought he took strides this spring. I was very pleased with things he did in the run game. I thought he improved. I was challenging him consistently, like, hey, I want you playing at this pad level or striking it like this, and he would go out there and do it. And so I saw those strides that he was making this spring. I want him to continue to build on that. I'm excited where he's going.
You can tell with Rallis, like his BJ's peers like Gardeck heaping praise. Mm-hmm. Whereas Rallis and even a little bit of JG, it's like, yeah, he's got some stuff to work on. We're working with him on that. And I think that's just out of respect for the veterans that they have, and the fact that, listen, BJ OJulari has the most potential of that group. That's why he was drafted the highest. I mean, I know Zaven was the first rounder, but a different position. But like, if they're going to be successful, like, it just feels like a mandate. Like, OJulari's got to be the guy. He's 22 years old. He played the position in college. He played at the highest level in the SEC. He started for LSU's defense, if you remember this, as an 18-year-old in the SEC. It's just unfathomable. So to me, it's like they feel, I'm sure, a responsibility. Like, whatever you get, and they won't ever say this publicly, from Zaven Collins, you're going to be happy with. Great player, great human being, locker room guy. Wasn't your pick. Ability is not to save Zaven Collins' career. Your responsibility is, let's get the most out of him. It's his last year of his contract, and let's see what happens in 2025. Yeah. Your responsibility, you and Ossenfort, to develop BJ OJulari. You use the top 45 pick on OJulari. He can't not produce for this team.
Right. And there's got to be a certain amount of pressure on the coaching staff to take both their most physically gifted players, regardless if Zaven is there in their draft class or not. But when you look at the pass rush position, to get them in a position to produce, because and what Zaven and OJulari need to do in turn is make themselves undeniable to where they aren't any longer I know there's a rotation to this, but they aren't just coming off the field to just give a different, diverse look, because that might give you an advantage over the guys being out on the field, in more of a full-time capacity. And I'm not saying they need to play 60% of the snaps. That's not, I don't think that you'll ever see that, but they need to be your primary pass rushers when the game's on the line and the opposing offense is on the field and they look across and you've got Zaven Collins and BJ OJulari as the guys who've earned their role to be out there to pin their ears back and make a play. That has to happen. Otherwise, if it's a rotation of, I know you can get to Gardeck and he's got his case, and then you get to the Victor Dumacagis or the Luquettas or the Cameron Thomases or the Tyreek Smiths, then that becomes a bit of an indictment on, did this former first rounder, and I know he was drafted as an off-ball linebacker in Collins, and this top 50 pick in BJ OJulari, were they the right picks, or are they just going to be good players in a rotation?
Yeah, I feel like in a perfect world, you would have an alpha at pass rusher. OJulari would be your 2. Zaven Collins would be your 3. And you'd be able to mix and match. Maybe that's still a reality for them. But again, I feel like we talk about the players offensively that they've drafted, Paris and now Marvin. And it's yeah, we feel like they can shoulder that workload. Speaking of Marvin, I know Rallis had a little bit to say about the 4th overall pick.
He certainly did, but our chat continues to kill it. I like the Johnny Venerable myths going out there, like Alpha Male JV saying post 999 JV could run a 4.34 40 time. And also that put JV in at left guard, watch K1 throw 40 touchdowns. Baharo is saying that JV is the best linebacker since Joe Montana, or was it Joe Montana? I can't remember.
Joe Montana, I believe. I feel like it's going to get to a point where I'm going to be like, hey, Zaven, step aside. Let me show you this get off that I've got.
Oh yeah. Yep. You're a technician out there. That's what I've heard about your pass rush skill set. No, I mean, is it iron sharpening iron? We've certainly heard that, anytime any young DB you and I have talked to, Johnny, has mentioned the matchups in OTAs and what they're looking forward to in training camp is matched up against Marvin Harrison Jr. And Nick Rallis, talked about that, what it's like going up against Marvin Harrison Jr. in practice. And Rallis certainly kind of fuels the fire a little bit with Marv out there. And this is what he gets on the practice field.
I can't speak for other DCs, but he's a tough cover in practice. I know that, but he's going to make us better, which I'm excited about. So he definitely made some plays this spring. I definitely talked a lot of smack to him, and then I go tell the DBs. I said, "Hey guys, I just talked a lot of smack, so you better go back me up out there in practice." So it's fun to see him out there on the practice field, and competing against him is going to make us better.
How do you like that? Your coach going out there and firing up Marvin Harrison Jr. before practice, and you're just trying to acclimate to the NFL level as
coach.
Max
what
Mountain.
The hell, man?
Yeah.
Jaden Davis goes out there as a 7th rounder and just is I'm looking to just compete. And then Nick Rallis comes up and he's just like, I just told Marvin that you were coming after him, so you better ready to play.
Trying to make the team, and then you're going, hey, I just told Marv that you said that you're going to dominate him in practice today.
I told Marv that they shouldn't have held the line for you.
Could you? I told Marv Joe Alt's looking pretty good right about now.
Told him to trade down.
What is more horrifying? I guess the answer is trying to block, Darius Robinson. That's more horrifying. But can you imagine a more daunting task than trying to backpedal against Marv? To just sit there in a 2-point stance or a DB stance and have to backpedal and press Marvin Harrison Jr. and just get tossed aside like a rag doll. He is so physically gifted and so enormous for the position. it's like I'm hopeful that obviously it's going to make Max Melton and Garrett Williams and Sean Murphy Bunting better, but I mean, it's reason enough go to training camp, watch what the show he's going to put on, because I love the Cardinals DBs. There's no one on Mars level, in my opinion, with like a skill set that can hang with him. Even though Max Melton did a hell of a job at Rutgers, I should say that.
Yeah, he did. He probably held Marvin Harrison Jr. to his most modest game of his collegiate career, and that's pretty legit. And he didn't have his DC out there in Marv's ear trash talking him before and motivating him any more than he had to. No, it was interesting. So then Danny Sarek of AZ Cardinals asked, like, okay, so if Marv's not talking trash back, like, who is? And Rallis kind of gave us some insight into the offensive players' trash talk.
He's pretty quiet. I'd say Mike Wilson Dortch trash talked me back pretty good. Me and Dortch go back to Wake Forest together, so I love talking smack to the offense. James Conner, love talking Fro, the O-line. Oh, I love getting after the O-line. I tell whatever we're not going to do that day, I'm telling them, like, guys, we're ripping zeros all day. You're not going to be able to pick it up, and then we just 4-man rush all day. You know, just messing with their heads, man. I love talking smack to the offense.
So
doesn't
kind of a lively crew, huh?
Doesn't surprise you about Dortch at all.
No, just going out there, getting open, and letting people know about it.
He mentioned James Conner, and this goes back to like my staunch commitment to James Conner and what could be his swan song year. You remember last year against, I think it was the Niners, where he like basically threw hands at Ufunga, their safety, like before the game or during the game. Like that's what you need from James Conner. Like I'm not going to say the Cardinals had very few alphas last year, but how many enforcers do they have? Like, they have more now. He's a true enforcer, trash talker on the team where he can back it up. He's a physically imposing individual. Like, I think now you would consider, like, I think Jonah Williams fits that qualification. Paris, Darius Robinson, a lot of your line of scrimmage players. But James Conner, like, he can talk all the shit he wants when he's elevating Patrick Peterson in the air with a stiff arm in Pittsburgh last year.
He's throwing them into the Three Rivers there in Pittsburgh. Oh, it's I mean, there's certainly in the intimidation, and you love to hear that the trash talk is flowing on the offensive side of the football. And I think they have everything that they need to back it up.
Yeah.
And then I hear the DC for the Cardinals is out there having some fun, running his mouth, chirping, and that's great. Do they have the personnel to back it up? And that's what one of the biggest question marks here in the middle of July going into 2024 training camp is going to be.
Can they be scrappy? Can the defense be some scrappy guys? I hate this term. I'm going to say it on this.
I hate everything you're saying right now.
I know. All the cliches are coming out of me. Can it be a lunch pail defense? Can they just come in with a lunch pail, dare I say, blue collar mentality, where you're coming in on any given Sunday and it's just like, you don't know who the fuck we are, NFL. We're going to hold this opposing team to under 24 points. Our offense has stars upon stars. All the highest paid players outside of our safeties reside in our offense. Our front sevens, the Mac Wilsons of the world and the Zaven Collins and the Justin Jones, we're going to announce ourselves with our play this year. I hope so. But again, and I've said this from the start, if I'm going to double and triple down with an unknown defense, I want to do it with a head coach that specifies as a specialty on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
Like Robert Saleh and the Jets are abysmal offensively, but hey, they got a great defense. They got great defensive personnel. Well, they can't score points. They go trade for Aaron Rodgers. The Cardinals' strength as a team is an offense. So by default, I love that their head coach can just say, you know what, we're going to elevate the defense. Me and Nick Rallis, we're going to get this defense to where people do not think it can go. I think that's the best combination you can have.
I think the one thing you can say about this group that you couldn't say about last year's group is that they actually now have talent on every level of defense, right? Like the defensive line, you've got a guy you can make your case for a couple, but I think I keep on falling back to Darius Robinson. And like I asked Rallis today, is like, are you having to do the same thing with Darius that JG says he's doing with Marv, that away from the facility, you got to kind of like rein him in because he's putting in too much work And in so many ways, he said, yes, he's never going to tell somebody not to work that hard. But at the same time, that's the type of guy that Darius Robinson is. And then you couple that with the skill set and the size. You got a player on your defensive line, and then the pass rush, you hope it's BJ OJulari, and then the linebackers, the off-ball linebackers, he talked about Mack Wilson today. We've been sleeping a little bit on Mack Wilson. I can't wait to see Mack Wilson play in a Cardinals uniform.
Is he playing off-ball linebacker?
He's playing everything, man. Okay. He's on third down. He could potentially rush. Maybe that's one of their solutions to supplementing the pass rush. I think this show doesn't buy too much into the PFF ratings, but Mack Wilson scored very highly as far as PFF. He would have been one of the highest on the team. And, what he did in New England last year in a contract year was pretty damn impressive. And he brings a lot of energy. He's one of those first guys in on the team and just wants to be great. And you couple him with Kazir White. I like that under the radar off ball linebacker group. And then, you look at the defensive backs and the safeties, you can find guys that can make plays for you now, where last year is you go out, you just drop to your knees and pray that somebody can make a play or get them off the field.
Yeah. They're not the same in terms of their physical attributes, but I look at somebody like Kyle Van Noy in his heyday for New England when he left Detroit would do everything for that team. Could cover, could rush the passer, plays a little off-ball linebacker. He's about 6'3", 250, 255. Mack Wilson's a couple inches shorter, but about 245. I envision jack of all trades, somebody that, honestly, it's what we envisioned for one Isaiah Simmons. It just didn't work out. But I think we know Mack Wilson, football junkie. And I'll tell you what, man, Cardinals have had a hell of a time with their transfers from not only New England, from Cleveland. Mack Wilson was a draft pick from Cleveland. Obviously, the folks, Petsing and company, must feel comfortable with him. So I think right now, at the end of the day, that's a position group with Chris Barnes coming back, who played really good for this team last year after Kazir White went down. That's a group that, again, slept on, has a bunch of savvy veterans, not making a ton of money. That's important. All these guys are making $2, $3, $4 million. You're not wasting first-round picks on off-ball linebackers anymore. This is a team that they're going to use, as our chat outlined earlier, premium picks on front seven players, line of scrimmage players. And then everything else, Taylor Demerson, safety in the fourth round, Mack Wilson, undervalued in free agency. We're going to supplement and pluck guys that fit our scheme. So again, it's crazy. We sit here 10 days before training camp, 80+% of this roster I feel really good about based on the coaching, the personnel. There's just a couple little hiccups I think could keep this team from making the postseason this year. Just a couple.
Yeah. And look, they could become very glaring once the regular season opens up. And you hope even in training camp, when they're only facing each other or going into the preseason, that people start to emerge and start to turn some heads. And you're like, oh, okay, now I feel more comfortable about that 10 to 15% that you were a little uneasy about.
Yeah, we're not uneasy about our trip to Miami. You shouldn't be either. You should be joining us ASAP via our friends at True Fan Travel, Bo. That's right. A 4-day extravaganza. How about this? A hotel beachside, oceanside in Hollywood Beach, Florida, just outside of Miami. We're going to be heading to Miami to watch the Arizona Cardinals stomp on the Miami Dolphins and company October 24th through the 28th with our friends at True Fan Travel, the premier road game event of the season. Right now, packages starting as low as $12.99. I ask everybody, piece it out yourself, price it out yourself, come back. I guarantee True Fan Travel is going to beat any package you have. On top of that, we're talking booze cruise. We're talking alumni meet and greet, right? We're having pregame. We're having postgame. We're hanging out at the game all weekend. Myself, Bo Brack, Damon, Dawg, Saul Bookman, and more. Come with us to South Beach for the best damn road trip for any Arizona Cardinal affiliate. Right now, it's PHNX Cardinals and True Fan Travel, Bo. You will not want to miss this.
No, you got the 3-night stay at the Hollywood Beach Marriott. That's going to be unbelievable.
Is that good? Are those good?
Yeah. I saw some pictures. That is a true beachfront hotel, find out more, truefantravel.com/Arizona. You can find all the details you need. And as Johnny mentioned, you can reach out to any one of us. Just make your pick.
If that hotel is in Miami, I don't know what is.
it's pretty unbelievable. And don't miss any of the other events that we have included to this. Yeah, welcome to Hollywood Beach, my friends. Just make the purchase, pack your bags, meet us in Miami, and we're gonna be hanging out all 3 days and nights. It's gonna be unbelievable.
I can't think of anything better. Partying with my friends, PHNX Cardinals. It's just my favorite thing. Watching Cardinal football and talking Cardinal football with all of you. It's been a pleasure talking Cardinal football here on a Football Thursday. We cap off this week tomorrow, mañana, on a Football Friday. I thought it might be fun, Bo, if we did just a little Sweet Baby PFF mock draft tomorrow live on air.
Oh, you dog.
We do a little throwback on Fan Mock Friday, but we fire up the PFF mock draft simulator. What do you say? Are you down for that?
Of course I'm down with that.
Okay. I think that that'd be a fun little treat ahead of training camp.
But certainly know how to treat a guy.
That's weird. In the meantime, like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search PHNX Cardinals. For Damon, Dawg, Bo, Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll back on a Friday mock draft time. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.